civilization. As a result, qualities of conduct that we recognize as familiar amid these alien surroundings are revealed as permanent in human nature. If one insists upon a lesson from history, it lies here, as discovered by the French medievalist Edouard Perroy when he was writing a book on the 100 Years' War while dodging the Gestapo during World War II. Certain ways of behaviour, he wrote, certain reactions against fate, throw mutual light upon each other. The 50 years that followed the Black Death of 1348 to 50 are the core of what seems to me a coherent historical period extending approximately from 1300 to 1450 plus a few years. To narrow the focus to a manageable area, I've chosen a particular person's life as the vehicle of my narrative. Apart from human interest, this has the advantage of enforced obedience to reality. I'm required to follow the circumstances and the sequence of an actual medieval life, lead where they will. And they lead, I think, to a truer version of the period than if I'd imposed my own plan. The person in question is not a king or queen, because everything about such person is ipso facto exceptional, and besides they are overused. Nor a commoner, because commoners' lives, in most cases, did not take in the wide range that I wanted, nor a cleric or saint, because they are outside the limits of my comprehension, nor a woman, because any medieval woman whose life was adequately documented would be atypical. The choice is thus narrowed to a male member of the second estate, that is, of the nobility, and has fallen upon Enguerrand de Coucy VII, last of a great dynasty and the most experienced and skilful of all the knights of France. His life, from 1340 to 1397, coincided with the period that concerned me, and from the death of his mother in the Great Plague to his own perfectly timed death in the culminating fiasco of the century, seemed designed for my purpose. Through marriage to the eldest daughter of the King of England, he acquired a double allegiance, bridging two countries at war, which enlarged the scope and enriched the interest of his career. He played a role, usually major, in every public drama of his place and time, and he had the good sense to become a patron of the greatest contemporary chronicler, Jean Froissart, with the result that more is known about him than might otherwise have been the case. He has one grievous imperfection, that no authentic portrait of him exists. He has, however, a compensating advantage for me, that except for a single brief article published in 1939, nothing has been written about him in English, and no formal reliable biography in French, except for a doctoral thesis of 1890 that exists only in manuscript. I like finding my own way. I must beg the reader to have patience in making Coucy's acquaintance, because he can only be known against the background and events of his time, which fill the first half-dozen chapters. Enguerrand made his first mark on history at the age of 18 in 1358, which does not occur until chapter 7. I come now to the hazards of the enterprise. First are uncertain and contradictory data with regard to dates, numbers, and hard facts. Dates may seem dull and pedantic to some, but they are fundamental because they establish sequence, what precedes and what follows, thereby leading toward an understanding of cause and effect. Unfortunately, medieval chronology is extremely hard to pin down. The year was considered to begin at Easter, and since this could fall any time between March 22 and April 22, a fixed date of March 25 was generally preferred. The change over to New Style took place in the 16th century, but was not everywhere accepted until the 18th, which leaves the year to which events of January, February, and March belong, in the 14th century, a running enigma, further complicated by use of the regnal year, dating from the reigning king's accession, in official English documents of the 14th century, and use of the papal year in certain other cases. Moreover, chroniclers did not date an event by the day of the month, but by the religious calendar, speaking, for example, of 2 days before the Nativity of the Virgin, or the Monday after Epiphany, or St. John the Baptist's Day, or the third Sunday in Lent. The result is to confuse not only the historian, but the inhabitants of the 14th century themselves, who rarely, if ever, agree on the same date for any event. Numbers are no less basic, because they indicate what